Hey guys, what is going on? This is Nate the Effing Great. This is the Game Changer, and this is your Impact Wrestling Homecoming review. I got the chance to watch it last night on the Fight TV app. A lot of people probably noticed that I wasn't very communicative during Twitter. I unfortunately had a power outage at my place where I was living, and the whole entire neighborhood was just completely wiped out. So unfortunately, the only thing that I could do is I could watch the Fight TV app from my phone, and thankfully it survived all the way through to the very end. Overall, I thought this show was pretty good. There were a lot of really good matches. It was just until it reached probably I want to say the tag team title match, where it slowly just started to deteriorate. It just slowly started to go into a downward slope, and that was one of those things that I just was very disappointed at. But I'll get into that more when I talk about it. So honestly, guys, Impact Wrestling Homecoming, taking place in Nashville, Tennessee, to a really good crowd. Everybody there had such a good atmosphere. They had a really good feeling about it, and a lot of these matches definitely just really made this night very memorable. We kicked off with the Ultimate X matchup for the vacated X Division Championship. Trey Miguel taking on Rich Swann, taking on Ethan Page, taking on Jake Christ from OVE. This was a really good matchup to start off the show. It showcased the X Division. I made a comment stating that this definitely takes away from 205 Live. This is one of those matches that I looked at and I thought, you know what, this is a really good way to start off the year for the X Division. They definitely showcased an absolutely great matchup here. There was like a super kick mania going on from everybody. Everybody's doing like, roundhouse kicks, super kicks at the beginning. Ethan Page took a huge double team maneuver in which he got like a double power bomb and then I think it's called a Mitoria, which is like a double knee to the face from the top. That was a really good spot. He also was climbing on the he was like shimmying on the ropes from the Ultimate X deal, and he actually fell and looked like he landed pretty badly on his leg, but thankfully it didn't look like it was a serious injury. There were dives like crazy from everyone. The main thing that I think definitely got people very interested was the tombstone that Jake Christ hit on Rich Swann on the outside. That was one of those moments where I'm like, oh wow, he's dead. It's one of those things where I thought that was going to probably take Rich Swann out. Little did I know that was not at all the case. Rich Swann was able to take out Trey Miguel, also take out Ethan Page and Jake Christ to shimmy from the ropes and then grab the X Division title. Rich Swann is your new X Division champion. Congratulations to Rich Swann. Well deserved. I was not expecting them to give the championship belt to him right now. I thought that they would kind of build it up just a little bit more, but all in all, it was a great matchup. I gave this matchup a solid B+. It's not one of the best Ultimate X matches, but it definitely is one of those matches that really helps start the new year off very well. It's a really good match between these four guys. They put a lot on the line, and they do an absolutely fantastic job. So my hat's off. Standing ovation for the guys of the X Division. You put on one hell of a show. We all had a Brian Cage promo in which he talks about sacrifices that he made, sacrificing the birth of his daughter, his wedding, which I think was kind of a weird thing because I know that he did a proposal to Melissa Santos, his now fiancée, future wife, in the ring, so I don't know if maybe they got married in a courthouse or something like that. I don't know. It was just one of those things where it's like, sacrifice a wedding. I don't understand that you could just pick a day, take some time off, and have your wedding and honeymoon there, but that's just me. And basically stating that tonight is not about friendships. You're not getting the, friend Brian Cage. You're getting the machine Cage. And it was a pretty good promo to really hype up the main event. The next matchup we had on here was Allie and Su Yung taking on Jordan Grace, and Kiera Hogan. This was a pretty solid matchup. Not one of the best matches that I've seen, but I think that compared to a lot of the women's tag team matches I see in WWE, this one definitely still holds its own. It definitely had a lot of deals where Kiera Hogan definitely seemed like she was going to be the weak link, but then as soon as Jordynne Grace got the tag, she was a house of fire. She was going crazy on Allie, on Su Yung. There was a spot where Jordynne Grace was able to hit a power slam, power bomb combo on Allie and Su Yung, which I thought was awesome. It definitely showcases the strength of Jordynne Grace and definitely shows that she is indeed just a huge asset to the company of Impact. In the end, though, we would see Allie hit her double knee to the face. I'll call it the Allie breaker at this point. She gets the glove from Su Yung, locks in the mandible claw, and it ends with that kind of a submission there. But we're not done there, ladies and gentlemen. No. So Su Yung calls for the undead bridesmaids to bring out a coffin. And the coffin is out. It's on top of the stage. And I want to state this. This is kind of like a side note. I'll get back to what I'm really excited about this in just a minute. It really did feel like this was a classic atmosphere. I'll get into that in just a minute. They put the coffin on stage. Then they say to open up the coffin. Who was inside the coffin? Why, none other than Rosemary. Oh my gosh. As soon as she popped out, I marked out. And there were so many other people that marked out. They were just absolutely happy to see Rosemary. You heard chants of Rosemary, Rosemary, Rosemary. It was awesome. It's one of those things where people saw it coming, but a lot of people loved the payoff. They loved the fact that they got to see Rosemary back. She's one of the best in Impact. She takes out Su Yung, sending her into the undead bridesmaids, and she looks to go to Allie, and she's going to try to do her head pat deal that she usually does to Allie, but just before she touches Allie, Allie rolls out of the ring, and she's just still kind of conflicted. She's just saying, no, you're not. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, no, you're not here, no, you're not real, blah, 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 and Rosemary just keeps looking at her. It's one of those things where it definitely does kind of beg the question, where do Allie and Rosemary go from here? Rosemary is back. How are they going to really make this story work? It was an awesome moment. I loved everything they did. I love especially what they're doing with Allie. They made her go from this, nice petite, kind of bunny-like character to now she's just this rabid, she's like this rabid Wolverine that just will do anything to beat it. But she's got this dark side to her that I never thought I would actually see, and she plays that character very well. So it's very interesting now to see where this is going to go, because now you have a dark side in Rosemary, and you have a dark side in Allie. What's going to happen when these two, collide? As far as this matchup goes, I gave it a C+. It was above average because there were some spots here and there where it was, good, but it's not one of those matches that I would have, higher up on the card. It was just one of those matches where it was kind of there, and really, the main purpose that it served was to bring back Rosemary into the fray, which I'm totally okay for. It's not one of those things that I, am totally against. Next matchup we had on here was Eddie Edwards taking on Moose in a Falls Count Anywhere matchup, and you talk about a physical matchup between these two men. I was definitely not expecting them to just absolutely, wow, they took each other to the limit. They were, we saw a lot of moments where Eddie Edwards did a lot of the high flying deals. He actually did a dive from the top of a staircase onto Moose, which was just absolutely great. And for one thing, you guys, is that the fans definitely wanted there to be a lot of action when it came to this matchup. There were chants of, over here, fans trying to get the competitors over there. It was great. It was absolutely wonderful to see that kind of fan participation. Eddie Edwards tried very hard to, take Moose down early, but Moose was able to capitalize. I mean, he hit 2 power bombs on Eddie Edwards on the apron. It was one of those things where it's like, wow, that's pretty brutal. Moose did an absolutely amazing job at that. Then we get to the point where we see Eddie Edwards hit a superplex on Moose onto a bunch of chairs. That looked very brutal. That was one of those spots where I was like, ooh, that is rough. I had some friends in the Rant with Ant Patreon chat that were mentioning that, that was spine tingling. One of them actually has to, deal, I think, a fusion in his back, so it kind of one of those things where it just tingles his spine quite a bit because it was so uneasy. Eddie Edwards then eventually brings out the kendo stick. He's beaten down on Moose, and it looks like he's about to finish the job. But his wife Alicia came out, and it looks like we think that Alicia's going to turn on Eddie Edwards, but no, she grabs the kendo stick and she just goes to town on Moose. It was one of those moments where I thought, wow, this is amazing. Hardcore wrestling really brings the family together. Eddie Edwards would then finish with a huge kendo shot to the head of Moose, and then a DDT for the 1-2-3. Eddie Edwards picks up the victory, and it seems like him and his wife are back on good terms. It was one of those pretty good matchups. I gave it a solid B. It was, again, a really good matchup between the two of them, really showcasing the high-flying deal of Eddie Edwards, the power game of Moose. This was one of those matches that it could have gone either way, and it was very believable. And even to the end, I was not expecting the result to be what it was. And that's one thing that I absolutely love about these matches, is that you sometimes don't know the outcome, and even when you get it, you're very satisfied with it. I did mention before that I wanted to talk about the classic look that this TNA Homecoming event had. It had the red ropes, it had like the classic look for the Ultimate X, the stage looked very classic-like from their early days when they had the NWA TNA deal. There was even a chant of TNA, and Josh Matthews mentioned old school chant, which I thought was kind of nice that they at least mentioned it. I wish they would have just said, would have embraced the fact that yes, we were formerly known as TNA, but now we're making an impact or something like that. Even though if it would sound cheesy, I would have been okay with that. We had a Sami Callihan promo in which basically he talks about stomping everybody who gets in his way. I love Sami Callihan. I liked him when he was, Jeremiah Crane, Jeremiah Snake, whatever name that he goes by. He does an absolutely fantastic job of really being that guy that people should be coming to see. And he basically says it, that he is the reason why people are watching Impact Wrestling. He is the... I'm trying to remember what he was. He was like, he was the most over... I'm trying to remember the phrase that he used for that. But he basically is just saying that he's the most over guy. He's the reason why people watch Impact. And I love that self-confidence. And it builds up into his matchup with him and Willie Mack. Oh, this to me was match of the night until we get into a later matchup. It was just absolutely fan-freaking-tastic how these two just have great ring chemistry between the two of them. I honestly was not expecting them to, pull off as much as they do. I'm always surprised when Willie Mack, who is almost like a guy of my size, can still do a moonsault and just make it look so easy. I just think to myself, yeah, I'm still not doing that, but it's one of those things where it's like, wow, this is really, really, really cool. I really like this. The match itself was really good. Dave Chris tried to get involved, but Willie Mack was able to thwart him. Here's the thing about this, was that this was one of those matches where there was a bit of interference, but not enough to hurt the matchup itself, because they told a really good story. They had a lot of great moments. Willie Mack definitely doing a couple dives that just definitely stole the show. We see Sami Callihan definitely doing a lot of chain wrestling during this matchup. Really good transitions. Near the end of the matchup, we get this deal where Sami Callihan knocks down the Mac, goes for a cover, and only gets a 1 count. And the Mac just has this look on his face of just a crazed psychopath. And then he does another move again, kick out at 1, crazed look. Does it for a third time, crazed look. And we're thinking that Willie Mack is definitely going to pick up the victory. But in the end, Sami Callihan hits a pile driver on Willie Mack for the 3 count and picks up the victory. I gave this matchup a solid A-. This was a really good matchup between the two of them. Like I said, this would have been match of the night had it not been for a future matchup that I will definitely be talking about. This just absolutely blew my mind how well they did, and I'm looking forward to seeing this feud continue on, because I don't think it's done by a long, long, long shot. We have Eli Drake talking backstage about how he's back in the area where Abyss was born, and he talks about the Monster Ball matchup, and he makes this comment about, it takes, a man with monster balls to do this matchup. And that was one of those things where it's like, God, Eli Drake just absolutely finds a way to continue to be just absolutely great on the mic, and his wrestling skills just continue to just be just unmatched. And I really like to see this continue flowing. Hopefully he gets back into a title picture, maybe the X Division title, maybe get him back in the world title picture. I think he would make a really great babyface. Just saying. So we get to the Monsters Ball match between Eli Drake and the Monster Abyss. This was basically a spot fest. I'm not going to lie to anybody. We see Abyss take a lot of bumps, take a lot of spots here. We see the same thing from Eli Drake. One spot in particular that just stood out was Eli Drake took a choke slam onto Tax, and it literally looked like he had scales on his back. There were so many thumbtacks that were just on there. It was just absolutely brutal. There's this random spot, though, that really kind of confused me as to what happened. It looked like one of the thumbtacks got thrown in the referee's eyes or something like that. I don't know what exactly happened, but that caused Abyss to take the distraction, hit a black hole slam on Eli Drake. It looks like it's going to be over. The referee's still blinded. He can't really see what's going on. Abyss would also bring in Janice into the equation, which definitely said to a lot of people, oh, this is going to get good. Janice was never really used. He never got utilized on Eli Drake nor on Abyss, but in the end we would see Eli Drake take advantage and pick up the victory over the Monster Abyss. I'm trying to remember how that finish actually happened. I want to say that he did a deal with, I think it was like a chair shot or something like that. I'm trying to remember exactly, but Eli Drake picked up the victory out of nowhere. Was not expecting Eli Drake to pick up the victory, and Abyss is at 48 appearances, but still 19 victories. So maybe when he reaches that 50 appearance marker, he'll get his matching 20, and maybe he'll ride off into the sunset. Who knows at this point? But it was a pretty good matchup. I give this one another B. I hear a lot of people complaining about this being like too many hardcore matches. I enjoyed it, and it's one of those matches that it was a TNA original. It was one of those matches that a lot of people definitely had as a marquee deal. So I was totally okay with it. I had no issue with this matchup at all. There were just a lot of spots in there that I just cringed at. It was just rough to watch, but at the same time, oh gosh, I cannot forget this spot. This just scared the hell out of me. So Abyss was kind of tied up in the ropes, and Eli Drake is just going to do a rebound off the ropes. He's charging at Abyss. Abyss does this belly-to-belly suplex, sending Eli Drake over the top rope. He goes through a table, and then it looks like Abyss takes like a nasty bump going down. This was one of those things where it's like, oh my god. It was one of those things where, yes, it's a spot fest, but that was a really hell of a spot. That was just absolutely insane. I cannot believe that I almost forgot about that spot. Holy cow, that was mind-blowing. That might have been spot of the night, in all honesty. Yeah, I think I'm going to say that's spot of the night. It was one of those moments that just will not be replicated at all. So we get into the tag team title matchup as LAX defend their titles against the Lucha Brothers. So I'm just going to say this. I can't give this match justice. You have to go and watch this matchup in its entirety. It is absolutely fantastic. The chemistry works perfectly. The story they're telling here is just tremendous. Everything that they've done, there's counters, and then there's great tag team moves. Just everything goes from absolutely just slow, but then it just picks up instantly, and it shows how well these guys can work together. So I'm not going to go too full into this because I feel like I'm never going to give it due justice. But LAX retained their tag team titles against the Lucha Brothers in what was honestly a great matchup. Definitely a tag team match of the year candidate. Josh Matthews said it best that, even though we are in the midst of January, hopefully you'll remember this in December as a match of the year candidate. It is on my match of the year candidate. I don't care what anybody says. This was just a fantastic matchup. I gave this one a solid A+. This was my favorite matchup of the night. It just absolutely blew the tag team division out of the water. I might need to watch it again. I might just have to watch it again probably later this week, because I know I have to watch Wrestle Kingdom, and I believe it's on Fight TV if I'm not mistaken. I might just have to watch Wrestle Kingdom. Maybe I'll watch Wrestle Kingdom today. I have a night off. But Conan came out. He talks about how he's proud of how these guys have definitely just come into their own, and that he cannot think of a better place for this matchup to take place than right there in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Asylum. It was a really cool moment. It was just one of those matches that worked out perfectly, and really just absolutely wonderful. All right, so then we have a backstage deal with Gail Kim, where she's talking about how Tessa Blanchard has been just pushing the authority around, just bullying referees, and that she's not going to be a pushover herself. I wouldn't expect anything less from Gail Kim. However, this is the part where the show starts going sour, and I'll explain why. We have the Impact Knockouts Championship matchup. Tessa Blanchard defends against Taya Valkyrie. Honestly, there's a few spots where they tell a really good story, where they have Tessa Blanchard being very physical, very punishing. We see her doing a knee to the face on Taya on the outside barricades. Just a lot of really intense stuff between the two of them, and it's just an absolutely fantastic, showcase between the two of them for the most part. I would say 50% of the matchup. There's a really good showcasing for this matchup. Gail Kim gets inadvertently hit by Tessa Blanchard. She would get the hammerlock DDT on Taya Valkyrie. Looks to retain the title, but Tessa tries to get Gail Kim back up. She's basically saying, hey, do your job, do the count, blah, blah, blah. We would see... I'm trying to remember exactly what really happened here. It looked like Tessa had the win quite a few times, but she kept pushing Gail and pushing Gail and pushing Gail to the point where Gail Kim, retaliated for that. She would hit the Eat Defeat on Tessa Blanchard, and then we see Taya hit the Road to Valhalla on Tessa Blanchard. Blanchard for the 1-2-3. Taya Valkyrie is your new Knockouts champion, and there's a part of me that is saying congratulations to her for that victory, but it's also one of those victories that it just feels very tainted. It feels very bad, because here's the thing. Tessa Blanchard is one of those champions that, yes, she's a heel, yes, she can be a bully, but at the same time, when she was in the ring, she proved herself night in, night out. It's not one of those things where, she was like cheating every single time. No. She was doing everything that she could to prove that she was to be the champion. I just think that this was a matchup that, I don't want to say it didn't need to happen, but the result just did not need to happen. It really didn't. In my professional opinion, I would have had Tessa Blanchard be victorious, and I would have had her, just make Gail Kim do the 3 count. There was a point where I thought that was going to literally happen. There was like a moment where they had the Shawn Michaels and Undertaker deal when it was like SummerSlam 97, where Shawn Michaels got spit in the face by Bret Hart. Shawn swings at Bret Hart with a steel chair but knocks out The Undertaker. They had that kind of moment happen here where Gail Kim and Tessa are, just driving for the belt, and they're doing a tug-of-war deal. Tessa lets go. Gail Kim hits Taya accidentally, and it looks like that's going to be the victory, but no, Taya was able to kick out. I would have probably had the finish right there. That would have been probably one of those things that I would have been looking forward to see them build up with a Gail Kim versus Tessa Blanchard matchup. I just think that this was one of those matches that it just did not need to happen the way that it did. I know this is where a lot of people really were just kind of like, she's not... I don't know. I think that, Taya has definitely come into her own, and she's definitely improved, but I don't think she's at that point yet where she is ready to be the champion. So that's why I'm not exactly fully, for this. But yeah, I gave this one a C. There was a lot of good stuff in this matchup. It was just, it got tainted really badly by the finish and by the outcome. I love Gail Kim. I love Tessa Blanchard. I'm okay with Taya Valkyrie. This matchup could have been a lot better, in my opinion. It just, I'm conflicted with this matchup because I don't want to, put down the women that were in this matchup. They did a great job, but at the same time, the outcome really leaves a sour taste in my mouth. We go on to the main event. I know that there's a promo with Johnny Impact. I didn't get a chance to listen to that, but thankfully I was able to watch this matchup. Brian Cage challenging Johnny Impact for the Impact World Championship. And honestly, to start off, it was very slow. We had a lot of deals where Brian Cage was showing his powerhouse deal. We had a lot of deals where Johnny Impact showed his fast-paced game. Before I get too deep into this, I want to mention Brian Cage came out in like a Terminator-like attire. He had like a robo arm. He had like a eyepiece. He just looked like an absolute badass, and that was really cool to see. And there was a lot of the Terminator claps going on during the night, and it was a pretty solid matchup for what it was. I think the chemistry between the two of them kind of lacked at some points. Other points, it definitely did find a way to, stand out. They did incorporate the, Survivor cast involved in this, which, trust me, they're going to come into play here, which I hate that. I really hate it, but it didn't leave. The entire night wasn't like a sour note, but we see Brian Cage hitting, the weapon next on Johnny Impact for a close 2 count. We see the Starship Pain on Johnny Impact by Johnny Impact to Brian Cage for another close 2 count. There's a moment where Johnny Impact hits like 2 Moonlight Drives consecutively. That was a really cool moment. It was really great to see. Brian Cage would hit the F5 on Johnny Impact for a close 2 count. There were a couple spots where Johnny Impact hit a move and Brian Cage kicked out at 1, and we would see Brian Cage get thrown to the outside. He shoves one of the Survivor cast members. Big mistake, because in the end we would see the Survivor members, getting involved. Brian Cage was able to counter a maneuver by Johnny Impact and hit I keep calling it the Steiner screwdriver. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think it's called the drill bit or something like that. It looks like Cage is going to pick up the victory. The Survivor guys are getting involved. The referee's distracted, and Cage is just yelling at the referee, "Hey, get over here, get over here." Brian Cage looks to go for a superplex from the outside on Johnny Impact. Impact is able to counter with a modified small package of sorts for the victory. After the match is over, we see Brian Cage is just absolutely pissed. He is not happy at all with the outcome. I honestly thought that was a 2 count, but nope, the referee called for it to be a 3, which I'm kind of at the point where it's like, I'm not totally convinced that it was a 3 count. Brian Cage would grab the Impact World title. He would mouth something to Johnny Impact, toss the belt to him, leave the ring. Taya Valkyrie would come out, and then we would see the big moment of the night where husband and wife are both champions. They're celebrating, they're happy, and it was one of those matches that, I don't know, this was one of those events that it left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and not in the best way, honestly. It's one of those things where I just saw a lot of the bumps, I saw a lot of the interference, and I just thought, it takes away from the match itself. I hate that. I hate when there are situations where it's like, hey, this is a really good matchup, but the results were really crappy. I really hated that ending. And that was what the story of the last 2 matches was, that, pretty good matches. The endings were just absolute garbage. I hated them. So, I had this rated as a C-. I'm definitely going to bring it down lower because I'm remembering just how bad this matchup was. Oh my gosh. Again, the Survivor cast did not need to get involved. The ending was very screwy. Everybody was all confused. I'm going to give this one a D+. This was just not the best main event to end Impact Homecoming with, and I was just not not at all pleased with that. But we didn't really end it on that note, because as soon as we get that little deal where it says like, oh, Impact Wrestling, copyright law 2019, blah, 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 out came Killer Kross, who assaulted Johnny Impact, took him, beat him down. Then Taya Valkyrie would get involved. She would just jump on Killer Kross, try to beat him down. Killer Kross is able to transition it into a powerbomb position. He throws Taya into a sea of security guards, basically stating that he is here to make an impact, pun intended. And honestly, it's one of those things where I was not expecting that. I would have thought that Killer Kross would have been involved in the matchup, and there are some people that are maybe suggesting that Johnny Impact was going to turn heel. That did not happen. Instead, we got a deal where Killer Kross is now basically saying, okay, you don't want my services? All right, fine. Then I want to basically destroy you. I want to, quote-unquote, probably kill you. Because his name is Killer Kross. Let's be fair. But it was kind of one of those moments that I was not expecting it to end on that note. But at the same time, I'm pleased that it did. It was pretty good. So my overall final rating for this show, I gave this a B-. There were some really good matches. Like I said, it was just up until the end where a lot of this stuff just started to break down, and it really just felt like it hurt the night in its entirety. Like I said, I loved the Ultimate X matchup. I loved the matchup between Eddie Edwards, Moose, Abyss, and Eli Drake had some really good spots in that deal, and that's probably what saved this matchup. The tag team title match, as well as Sami Callihan versus the Mac, was definitely hands down the reasons why you need to watch this event. The only issues that I had with this event were the interference by the Survivor cast, the screwy finishes for both the Knockouts title matchup as well as the Impact World title matches. Overall, like I said, it was a pretty good night. It wasn't one of the best nights of this year. I definitely do see a couple other events beating this year. I'm sorry, but it's one of those shows that I think Impact Homecoming was, I'm glad that they did it, but I just wish that they would have gone about it a different way. So I also wanted to say this. A major shout-outs go out to the Fight TV network for allowing me to watch this show, to give my critique on this, and also to be a part of it. It was really cool to do that. So thank you to Fight TV for allowing me to watch that. Thank you to SoCal Val for even the mention to Fight TV about this whole ordeal. And I'm hoping I get the chance to work with them again in the future. And hopefully next time around there won't be a power outage, so that way I can actually start, doing the plugs and everything. Yeah, like I said, it was a really good night. I know that there were a lot of people that were having issues. They mentioned them during the chats, like, oh, some things were like freezing up, and some spots were just getting, kind of missed. There were some people that were just saying, like, oh, I want a refund for this, and blah, 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 blah. Just, complaining. I look at that as one of those situations where, maybe it's the internet connection, maybe it's not the actual app, because, like I said, I watched the entire Fight TV show on there, and it worked out well for me. It wasn't one of those things that it wasn't one of those things that I had a major issue with. And also, this is one of those events that I look at and I think to myself, maybe I need to actually watch some classic TNA Impact Wrestling shows and really get the appreciation for the rich history that it had. So maybe I'll do that in the course of 2019. Maybe it could be one of those situations. I mean, Patreon is going to be just around the corner, you guys. WrestleMania is closely, coming up, so maybe that's one of those things I'll have as a Patreon backer. But we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, so thank you guys so much for listening in to this review for Impact Wrestling Homecoming. Thank you so much to everybody who showed their support. Shout outs to Philium, as well as, I'm going to try and get his name right here. I'm trying to think here. Jazz Keegan at Headband Brother. Definitely go check them out, as well as my boy Mr. Philium at Philium RWA, I believe it is. Yep. Those two won the sweepstakes to watch the Impact show for free. And I'm hoping that I get the chance to do more of those in the near future because it's really cool to do that. So, with that being said, guys, you know how to follow me on Twitter at RealFNGame. You know how to give us a like on our Facebook fan page. Let me know what you guys thought of the Impact Wrestling Homecoming in the comments section, and let me know what you guys think. I think that for this week of wrestling, I'm going to come back to this, and I'm also going to mention some of my favorite tweets from you guys because you use the hashtag Impact Memories. I'm going to look back at that and actually do a lot of shout outs for you guys, for those that definitely use that hashtag, because Impact does have a lot of great memories. And this is one of those nights that I think, regardless of how the last two matches were, it created some great memories again. So thank you guys for joining me here for the Game Changer, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye!